I want to talk about three rookie quarterbacks because heading into next season, their ADPs probably are not going to be as good as their realistic ceiling. The big question is going to be who do you put them in front of? And that's always the tougher call. It's easy to look at a guy who's a QB 30, and I'm guilty of this, and say, oh, no, they're going to be better than QB 30. That's ridiculous. And then they finish as the QB 22 and see, they're better. Doesn't mean they're worth starting. There are three rookie quarterbacks this year. I'm not going to talk about Shough or Sanders. I think the Browns' offense in general is just kind of a wait and see offense. And Sanders, we don't know yet if he's going to be the starter at the start of next season. But there's three other rookie quarterbacks who will be the starters in all likelihood start next season. Two of them, not that surprising. One of them, I think, a shock. Two of them started out as backups this year, and both took hold of the starting job and never let go. I'm talking about Cam Ward, Tyler Shough, and Jaxson Dart. Interestingly, they have all stepped up in pretty big ways. Cam Ward's ceiling hasn't quite been as big as Dart's, and I don't think it's been as big as Shough's, but still, Cam Ward has stepped up the last 4 weeks. He has two touchdown passes in each of his last 4 games. That's 8 TD passes in 4 games. Might not seem great, except in his first 12 games, he had only 7 touchdown passes. And you look at the guys he's throwing to, among his top targets are three rookie wide receivers. One he played with, Restrepo, at Miami. The other two rookies that he's had to build chemistry with. It's pretty remarkable to have. I don't know the last time a rookie quarterback has thrown to three rookie wide receivers. And in the case of Chimere Dike and Alec Elenamore, I botched his name. It's the end of the season. But, those two guys have been pretty much his top two, more or less. Van Jefferson's filled in a little bit since early mid-season. So it is pretty remarkable. And Cam Ward is probably going to be next year, in terms of fantasy rankings, I would say the QB 27, maybe QB 28. He's going to be down there because who do you put him in front of? It's going to be very hard to rationalize that, even if Ward finishes really strong in week 18 and turns enough heads where people say, wow, this guy's really ascending. It's still going to be tough. Tyler Shough, maybe a similar story. And it's unfortunate. He's been very good. I would say a must-start fantasy quarterback in, I think, 4 of the last 5 weeks, maybe 5 of the last 6. It's been remarkable because he has lost, kind of like Cam Ward, lost a lot of the guys who he started with at the start of the season. I mean, Cam Ward started with Tyler Lockett and Calvin Ridley as the top two, and I'm missing a third. It's coming to me, but not quite. And then, had to go through a complete turnover to rookie receivers, primarily. With Shough, he started out with Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed and some other receivers, and Alvin Kamara as the number one running back, and Kendra Miller as the seemingly, potentially ascending, if you believe that a former third-round pick can be ascending, and Kendra Miller briefly showed that, but he keeps getting hurt. He has lost Kamara and Miller. He has lost Shaheed to a trade. And so you think about a guy like Shough, who, despite all of that, has thrived with Chris Olave. And you could say Olave has elevated Shough more than Shough elevated Olave, but still, Olave is having a career year. And Shough is a big reason why. I had thought Spencer Rattler was playing well enough to keep the job. It was clear that with the Saints going nowhere, they wanted to see what they had in Shough. Shough is a relatively old rookie quarterback, very old rookie quarterback. Who knows what his longevity is going to be, but still, if he could have this kind of season with a number one wide receiver in Olave and Juwan Johnson and not much else to point to, think about Kamara, how down a year he's had, and Shough has still, including with his legs, been able to manufacture fantasy points. It's pretty incredible. Next year, his ADP is probably going to be around 24, I would guess. Probably not much better than that. And the reason is the Saints are not going to be a very competitive team, in all likelihood, with all apologies and to Saints fans out there. They might still be. Who knows? I mean, it's a pretty competitive division when you think about it. Um, but the Saints might be a year or two away from really breaking through. They need to figure out their backfield because Kamara is not the answer anymore, I would suspect, going into next year. And they need a good number two wide receiver. Um, and then you've got Jaxson Dart. And Jaxson Dart, of course, has been brilliant at times and has not been at all good at times. You could blame it on his returning from an injury where he kind of lost that momentum. Maybe was a little bit cautious about running with the ball. Yesterday he did run with the ball and manufactured fantasy points. That's the magic of Dart. But he did this. He was able to ascend despite the fact that he lost his all-world number one wide receiver, Malik Neighbors, in I think it was his first game. And then maybe in his second game, he lost Cam Scatabo, who at the time was his starting running back. And Scatabo had kind of taken that over from Tracy, from Tyron Tracy. When Tracy got hurt, Scatabo was, fantasy, looked like a fantasy top 10 running back. Neighbors, of course, it would seem like a perennial top 10 fantasy wide receiver. We'll see if it's perennial. It's only year two and he's been out much of the season, but still he had those two guys, lost them early on and still managed to thrive despite throwing to backup wide receivers primarily and Wan'Dale Robinson. We can't forget Robinson and a unproven tight end, more or less, in Theo Johnson and backup Daniel Bellinger. It's pretty remarkable what Dart's been able to do. His ADP will probably be better than the other two next year, in part because you look at the personnel on that team and it's already built to be a top 16 offense. If things break right, if Neighbors is healthy, Robinson's healthy, if their backfield is healthy, that's a top 16 offense. It might even be a top 12 when you're looking at the top heavy impressiveness of those guys. So we don't know how good Dart can be. We probably don't know how good Shough can be because he hasn't had all the personnel that he's needed. And we certainly don't know how good Cam Ward can be because he's been throwing primarily to rookie receivers. Maybe not primarily, but a good chunk of his season has been to rookie receivers. So in year two, they should all be better. And yet, Dart's ADP next year, I would guess, if you look at it, is probably going to be 16. I would say 16. I think if you start pushing them to 12 to 14 range, then you're saying, well, is he better than Justin Herbert once the offensive line gets healthy? Probably not. Is he better? You could rattle off some other guys. Matthew Stafford certainly will be much better than he was this past year. This past year, summer, he was whatever, QB 24, 26, whatever he was. He'll probably be, top 12, top 10. I don't think he's going to be as elite as his numbers are right now, but he'll be up there as a 38-year-old quarterback who can still sling it. But it's going to be tough to see, well, who do you put Dart in front of to push him in the top 14? I don't see it at this point. So you've got three rookie quarterbacks going into next year, all presumably ascending. All are going to have ADPs, in my opinion, that are going to be right around the lower end of their midpoint of what's realistic. And by that, I mean, Dart realistically will be slightly better than top 16, making him a slight bargain, but the market is going to be worried about pushing him too high up and pushing other guys who are proven talents, proven top 16 quarterbacks down. And to a lesser extent, Shough and Ward are going to have to battle to be in the top 20 because there's going to be guys there who are, I'm not even talking about Trevor Lawrence, who's going to be sky high next year probably. But CJ Stroud, what do you do with him? He's not going to be 26. There will be an expectation that Stroud's going to rebound. And there's going to be other guys like that that people are going to say, well, he'll be better than, better than last year, but maybe not as great as his rookie year. And still, a lot of people are going to bet on Stroud over Ward and Shough, in my opinion. It's something, and I talked about this in the Jaden Daniels podcast in the preseason. When we see how good a player can be, we look at that as a baseline ceiling of what they can be. And we say, okay, Stroud's been great. he can be great again. Um, and it's just kind of a psychological thing. But with Shough and with Ward, and even a little bit with Dart, we don't know yet if they can be top 10 guys on a consistent basis. And therefore, and in Ward's and Shuck's cases, we'll see if they can be top 20 guys consistently. Shuck's on a roll right now, but it's still a small sample size. And that's going to be what I think keeps their ADPs down. Um, so it's something to look at next season. I love trying to anticipate what ADPs are going to be because then I'm already sizing up the rankings that I have based on what I think the ADPs will be. And that way I'm not being influenced subconsciously by, what I think the market thinks. It's what I think. And then let's see where the market is. And oftentimes I have a good sense. And I think that if you study this stuff like I do, you can have a good sense too of where the ups and downs are with these guys. Those three rookies are going to be fascinating to watch next summer. And if you're looking for a great bargain, you start with ascending players, and those three guys scream ascending. I'm BJ Riddell, Fantasy Football for Winners. Follow me on the blog. Email me anytime. We'll see you tomorrow.